Passengers should get out through passport control on the first floor to the final departure lounge.
For passengers Bailey, Gill and Alfred, please go immediately to gate 53 where the flight is now closing.
Question: what is the world's fastest growing industry? Answer: tourism.
Looking at the beaches here in southern Spain, it's possible to believe it. Not just that it's the fastest growing industry, but that in terms of revenue turnover, it's bigger than armaments and second only to oil. And it's all happened so very quickly. When I walked these beaches 20 years ago, there was nothing, no hotels, no people, just an empty sun-drenched landscape. Now it is the most visited corner of the globe. For millions of sun-seekers from Northern Europe, a packaged holiday down here was the first opportunity to travel aboard and the first chance to fly. And what's started down here, the packaging of a place for the mass market, is now a worldwide phenomenon. And that's what our program is all about. About a development in civil aviation that means that 7 out of 10 passengers on most flights are now traveling for fun.
Today's package tourist seeks his fun in some unexpected spots. This plane load is heading for a place the very name of which strikes chill to the bones. Why have they turned their backs so firmly on Mediterranean sunshine?
Well, I've been through the Spanish thing. I've had a holiday in Benidorm. Quite frankly, after about 3 or 4 days, you've had enough. There's very little to do. Just sort of lying on the beach all day, it's not really my cup of tea.
I have foregone my colour television this year in order to save me some money to come.
I'm a resident of Florida, and you know, all year round the climate has a sameness, so I want to get away from the hot weather.
Just make a change, wouldn't it? Instead of getting the suntan, you might get frostbite, you know?
Right.
It's almost 5 o'clock in the morning and I feel as if I've been sitting in the fetal position for an eternity. In fact, it is quite a long time because we left Luton Airport north of London at 9:30 yesterday morning. Flew to Moscow, changed airports and planes, boarded this Tupolev 154 aircraft of Aeroflot, the Soviet Airlines, then went to Omsk, where we refueled, and now we're approaching our final destination, the city of Irkutsk, in the frozen wastelands of Siberia. That is the holiday destination for 17 of my companions on this aeroplane. They're on a package tour to Siberia.
Ladies and gentlemen, in some minutes we'll be landing at the airport in Irkutsk. The temperature in Irkutsk is 7 degrees below zero.
For several years, Thompson Holidays, Britain's largest package tour company, has been sending its clients for winter holidays in Siberia. An important station on the Siberian Railway, the frontier town of the Wild East, the Pearl of Siberia, is how the travel brochure describes Irkutsk, forgetting to mention that yesterday's tourists were the wretched exiles for whom a ticket to Siberia was no packaged holiday. High on a short list of places to visit is the War Memorial. Even on the bitterest days, schoolboys and girls mount guard over the monument. And as in other places, the changing of the guard is something that tourists come to see. As a leisure resort, Irkutsk has obvious shortcomings, which are not helped by the Soviet view of what constitutes fun. Nearby Lake Baikal is included in the tour, and even though it's frozen solid, it doesn't seem to matter. For the enthusiastic collector of unlikely destinations, it's being here that matters.
You're quite a traveller, aren't you? Yeah. Where have you been apart from here?
Cuba, China, India.
And how many times the Soviet Union?
7.
7?
7 times. This is my 7th visit, 2nd time here.
Well, why would you come a 2nd time here?
First time I found it interesting. You know, I wanted to come see what Siberia was like and Outer Mongolia. I was so taken by it that I thought, well, I must come back, you know, next time it's convenient. I like the country, you know. I always say this, forget about their politics and go to the country and see what it's like.
What's your job as a man of interest?
I'm a manager of a do-it-yourself shop, a paint shop in Chiswick.
Where do you come from and what do you do, Miss Cairns?
Oh, well, I'm a librarian, but I like to explore countries when I get the chance. And this seemed a good place to explore.
So you're a person for whom cheap air travel has been a real boon, isn't it?
I think it's absolutely wonderful. I think it's the best thing that's ever happened in my time. I think people that do this are absolute benefactors to humanity. That's what I've found.
Siberia, 4 million square miles of primeval forest, Arctic tundra and endless steppe. And it only takes a package tour to cut it down to size. The cultural excursion was to this typical Siberian village. Not only did the place appear to be deserted, but most of it lay on the wrong side of a half-frozen stream. The whole thing was a fiasco, but it could hardly have given more pleasure if the tourists had been greeted by the entire village waving samovars and singing Russian folk songs. And it ended superbly. When they finally made it across the ice to their main objective, the village church, it was found to be firmly shut. If Thomson executives back in London had planned it this way, they could hardly have done better. Or could they?
Well, at the last meeting you rejected my 2 best ideas, which was a dog sledge safari to the North Pole and in the footsteps of Darwin, the bird spotting series, the bird spotting holidays in Tierra del Fuego. So I don't know, what have you got that's brilliantly new?
In their efforts to come up with something different for the more demanding of their 800,000 clients, Thomson are offering to fly them to Timbuktu and the Niger, as well as to Siberia and Outer Mongolia. But for some tourists, that's not enough.
If anything, the only criticism we've had of the holidays to Siberia and Mongolia has been that they're not really cold enough.
Is there anywhere we could actually go to, further north in Siberia?
Well, we're thinking at the moment of introducing Bratsk, which is marginally colder. I mean, that's real sort of bear hunting area.
And so to Bratsk comes Nikola Marinkovic, a Yugoslav who's Thomson's top man in the Soviet Union. Bratsk may be cold enough for the tourists, but the only diversion it has to offer is a visit to the vast hydroelectric dam. Intourist, the Soviet travel organization, is happy to arrange guided tours of the installation and to provide, in English, glowing accounts of its marvels.
You can see the cross-section of the steel spiral chamber adjoined to the temple.
This is obviously a marvellous piece of engineering, but do you honestly think that people are going to want to fly 5,000 miles to see a dam in this kind of weather?
I would never like to fly myself just to Bratsk and see it. But after seeing 2 other places, I would love to see Bratsk and see a real Siberia, what men can make. I would really suggest everyone to include Bratsk in any Siberian tour.
They say that here they get temperatures of -50 in the winter.
Yes, it's rather cold, but, I mean, for a day, it's not too bad. They want to see, I mean, the real Russian winter, otherwise they would come in summer.
But forget the cold.
Every once in a while you dream of a perfect holiday, where you lie on a palm-fringed beach or bathe in a tropical lagoon where skies are ever blue, the sea's perfect, and the sand's sparkling clean. And when you've soaked up the sun and easy living, and and you're totally blissfully relaxed. There's an infinity of things to do. This is where you discover all about paradise, where the days and nights are warm and heavy with the fragrance of frangipani. Here, where nature's been more than generous, where the water is impossibly blue, the sand dazzling white. Every minute of every day is filled with sun and fun and blissful memories. Put a name to that dream, Fiji, and make it a reality with a Jet About holiday.
In those words, Australia's airline, Qantas, sells its package holidays in Fiji, a millionaire's Shangri-La, now open to people of quite modest means.
I'm a farmer. I come from Southland, New Zealand.
I come from Perth in Western Australia, and I'm a builder.
I'm from London, and I work for a radio station over there.
I come from New Zealand, and I'm an auto electrician.
I'm an architect and a rancher. Yeah, I'm from San Diego.
I'm a diesel engineer, and I come from Queensland.
I'm from New Zealand, from Mount Ruapehu, and I'm a National Park Ranger. At the moment, we've just got the first snows, getting ready for the winter skiing season. Not quite like this.
Pretty different from the kind of holidays you had as a child, I bet.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. In England, I used to live 100 miles from the coast, and the holiday was to get to the coast for the year, 100 miles. So that was our holiday. Then in the teens, save up group, drive 36 hours non-stop motor car down to Spain or Italy, and for 30 quid you just about get a fortnight's holiday, and that's about all you could afford.
I know a lot of my friends have only perhaps been 100 miles north or 100 miles south of Perth, and really they have got no idea of the rest of the world, and of course their children haven't either.
We go to the teachers and say, look, we want to take the kids away on a holiday, and they say, where are you going? And we say, well, look, can we have some of their school books to take with us? And their attitude is that they'll learn far more on a trip than they can teach them in school.
I suppose it must be easier for you from Perth to get abroad than it is to get to other parts of Australia.
It is, and also it's a lot cheaper. We can get a package holiday to, say, Singapore or Bali a lot cheaper than it costs us just to fly to Sydney. And that sort of includes your hotel bill for a week, everything inclusive.
Welcome aboard our Qantas Fiji Fun Jet. Our flight time to Fiji today will be 3 hours and 30 minutes. During this time, we'll serve you lunch, and during the flight, we'll be playing our race game in the sky.
What Spain is for Northern Europe and what the Caribbean is for the United States, Fiji is for Australasia. And it's the airlines that have made it that way. By ingenious advertising and hard selling, they've created the need for people to holiday in Fiji. That's the way the airlines do business today, as the chairman of Qantas, Sir Lennox Hewitt, explains.
We are the biggest segment of the tourist industry in Fiji, and we, Qantas, are bringing an ever-increasing number of Australians to Fiji.
You know, we in Europe always tend to think of Australia as being a land constantly bathed in sunshine, and I think we might wonder why on earth Australians need to get away to a place like Fiji.
Oh, it's a friendly, interesting, agreeable place to be, and one of the closest of overseas destinations for Australians.
What's the secret, do you think? If there's one thing that people want to travel for, what do you think it is?
Change. Something different, whether it takes the form of food, of accommodation, of climate, of duty-free shopping. It can all be summed up, I think, in the one word, difference or change.
And the biggest change for the first package tourist wasn't so much the lavish welcome and exotic drinks, it was the novelty of flying. And now that has vanished.
How did you all come here to Fiji?
Flying.
And how did you like that?
Good.
Was it the first time you've been on an airplane?
No, we've been on thousands of times.
Is anyone here the first time that they've flown?
No.
No?
No.
You've all flown before, have you?
Yes.
What, lots of times?
Yes.
All right. We are posing. You stay there so we can take a group photo. See? You have something to take away home, eh? So the people, so that more will come. This is the age of travel. No one can stop that. We are all part of one world and the same planet, eh? So here you are and here we are, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, tourists, for coming to Fiji to spend your money. The evidence of your spending grows daily more evident. In fact, tourism has grown so rapidly that in terms of gross expenditure, it's now the largest industry. But not in terms of benefit to the economy. Of every tourist dollar spent, only 25 cents remains in Fiji. Of the meals served in the luxury hotels, the meat and salads which local farmers have been unable to supply have been flown in from New Zealand and Australia. Tourists in large numbers are a mixed blessing for both the host country and the tourists themselves.
The more you look around and the amount of people that are travelling, and you see what's happening to the resorts, that the real natural places of beauty are just getting spoilt. They're getting over-commercialised and overridden with hotels, and then all the commercial sharks move in with all their goodies and their shops and everything else. You know, where does it finish? Okay, Fiji, this is our first visit. Just look at it. Its natural beauty is just incredible. But it's now coming within very easy reach of an awful lot of people, and how long is it going to retain its natural beauty? Before the beaches are polluted and there's tin cans everywhere and broken glass everywhere. If it goes the way most other places, and I'll quote the Mediterranean as a typical example, not very long.
The danger of tourist pollution does cast a shadow over the future of air transport. In the Western democracies, the liberty to travel is regarded as one of the basic freedoms, and thanks to cheap package deals, many more people are able to enjoy that freedom. But whether the new mobility makes our world a happier and lovelier place to live in is a question on which there are sharply conflicting views.
The democratic view states that anything that makes air travel available to more people at a lower cost is a good thing. The elitist takes just the opposite view and argues that the more of us that travel, the less there is to travel for, that inevitably we destroy what we set out to enjoy. Well, I thought this was a new debate until I was reading about the father of the package tour, Thomas Cook. In the 1850s, the first Cook's tours of the continent were making available to the English middle classes what had previously been the preserve of the aristocratic and the wealthy. And the upper classes were not best pleased. They called Mr. Cook's tours a new and growing evil. And the British consul in Florence wrote angrily to Blackwood's magazine about the tourist pollution in these terms. The cities of Italy, he said, are now deluged with droves of these creatures, for they never separate, and you see them, 40 in number, pouring along a street with their director, now in front, now at the rear, circling round them like a sheepdog. And really, the process is as like herding as may be. I have already met 3 flocks, and anything so uncouth I never saw before.
To Bangkok, the flocks come today for the culture, and the consequence of their coming is entirely familiar. The temples and palaces have lost their serenity, as surely as Westminster Abbey and Notre Dame and the Acropolis have lost theirs, sacrificed to the fleeting demands of the new nomads. All visitors to Thailand descend on Bangkok and Chiang Mai, and in those cities they expect to see and to have their presence recorded in certain well-established places. It's the necessary evidence of their visit, and it has to be paid for. Without the photographs, the souvenirs and the postcards, the value and the reality of the trip seem to be diminished. It could be that the visit lives more vividly in the family album than here on the ground. And most of these carefully collected memories, even the much advertised friendliness of the Thai people, are part of the tourist package, though it is showing the strain.
Let him have a good bargain and he'll take one for his wife, because I told him 2 years ago I come here, I buy, I come again, I buy, you give him good bargain. Okay, Daddy, 400. 400 to 2.
Looks like he didn't get it.
Yeah, 650, that's okay.
Perhaps the most striking example in Bangkok of the destructive side of tourism is to be found here on the canals, in what the guidebooks call the floating market. According to the blurb, you'll find here a colourful fleet of tiny boats selling a succulent range of tropical fruit and vegetables. What you'll in fact find is an ugly, waterborne traffic jam. The market boats have long since been driven away by the tourist craft, and what is now called the floating market doesn't even float. It's a sprawling souvenir shop on shore. And yet, some visitors are more than satisfied. What you never knew, you never miss.
What have you seen this morning?
Oh, I've been all the way up to the floating market, and the people are wonderful. The fruit's beautiful, sweet, bright, and wherever you go, that people are so friendly and their smile's so nice. It just makes you feel happy. Especially when you come, the climate's so nice. We came from ice and snow. We were delayed 33 hours, and our plane can't take off for ice and snow in Canada and Chicago. So to come to this country, it's hard to believe how warm it is. Yeah, wonderful.
What did you think of this morning's tour?
Obviously, there had been some commercial impact there. The tourists were rampant, and it just wasn't what I expected.
Have you found this to be generally true of your trip here?
Yes, in Bangkok. Chiang Mai, however, is a different story. That's far less commercial, but it's changing now. I understand there's international flights coming into Chiang Mai that'll change that entirely as well. April 1st, I think, is the magic date. Yet unspoiled, but not for very long.
Not for very long. And the same goes for this floating market, 30 miles from the capital. This is the real thing, the way it used to be in Bangkok. But it's already earmarked for change. Having banished the market boats from the canals of the city centre, the tourist flotilla is sailing into action here. In the garden of his Bangkok home, I talked to a former Prime Minister of Thailand, Mr. Kukrit Pramot. Does he welcome the tourist influx?
Oh, greatly. Greatly, because it makes a lot of money for the country.
Are you at all bothered about people's motives for coming here? I mean, not everybody's coming here for Thai culture or indeed for the sunshine.
Yes. Of course, naturally, they come here for sex. That seems to be the primary economy of tourism. Well, I could just walk out of this house and across a few streets, which takes no time at all, and then there's Pat Pong Road full of bars and gay or otherwise, and all kind of, well, yes, there's Sodom and Gomorrah next door.
Pat Pong Road, where sex is packaged for the tourist market.
Yeah. Take a look, sir. No lining on mine. Yeah.
It was an obvious ingredient, and today the 2-week tumble in Bangkok or Taiwan is extensively marketed in Japan and Germany, bringing its jumbo loads of jaded males in search of that great euphemism, the massage parlor.
You know body massage? I mean, a girl take off clothes and take off. For the thing, you take off clothes and girl take off clothes. And use nipple, massage, understand? Use nipple.
A nice girl, young girl. I like you.
What you've said has explained something to me. I see that in the list of tourist income, it says that 30% comes from shopping, etc. Now, I know what...
The etc. is very important. That's about I would say, 70% of the whole income. Shopping is merely 30. But meanwhile, I must be frank, I'm personally very proud that we are at least sexually attractive to our foreign friends.
There seems to be no doubt about that. I mean, do you think that that is an aspect of the attractions of the country which you ought to promote more? You don't sell yourself as a country where people are sexually attractive.
Well, we don't exactly go all out to sell sex to everybody around the world. But at the same time, I don't think we need be queasy about it. These businesses seem to help tourism a great deal. And the main thing is to develop tourism and to gain more foreign exchange for all of us.
The acquisition of foreign exchange is the name of the tourist game. It's now an important, if not a vital part of many national economies. It's what lies behind the visit of an airline boss to the Gambia in West Africa. Mr. Adam Thompson, the chairman of British Caledonian, is on a working holiday, and the president of Gambia has sent his personal chauffeur to meet him. The Gambia is new to the tourist business, but learning fast. It's only a year since customs and immigration did their occasional business in the shade of a nearby tree, and now they've acquired more conventional means of processing people, and only the visitor is the loser. An unlikely place for a holiday, the Gambia, one of the poorest and smallest African nations, a sliver of land enclosed by Senegal. Till recently, it had nothing to sell the world but peanuts, and then the Scandinavians discovered its sunshine. The Swedes arrived in force. They were even permitted to launch their own radio station, broadcasting in several languages, including Swedish and English.
Now, hi, welcome to the morning show. So we started the morning show off with Lucy in the Sky with Diamond. And my name is Keith Sinati. So this is your morning show, man. I'd like you to really enjoy yourself. We got some really good music. Okay, come on, let's go with the 3 degrees. Giving up, giving in.
Only a few miles away, in neighbouring Senegal, there are hundreds of miles of coastline that remain just as they've been for centuries, where traditional African life and culture is almost untouched by outside influence. But take a good look at it, because the invasion is at hand, and it's about to be changed forever.
In saying that, I'm certainly not supporting the elitist argument, and I hope that many people will come and enjoy these beautiful beaches. But what I am saying is that by the time that the hotels have been built and the infrastructure has been put in to make it possible for large numbers of people to come here at a reasonable cost, by that time, then the place will have changed. It may not be Miami Beach or the Costa del Sol, but it will be different. Unfortunately, you can't go anywhere without changing the place, and the more people that go, the greater the change.
Back in the Gambia, the Minister for Tourism proudly displays the developments that he hopes will help to modernise his country. While in the villages, the Gambians perform their traditional ceremonies that the tourists come to Africa to enjoy. It's the familiar paradox.
First time you've been to Africa?
Yes, it is.
And what do you think about it?
I think it's beautiful. It's there's something primitive about the whole place.
Yeah.
And the people are so natural and happy, even though they're so poor. They're really happy.
They're talking about expanding tourism very much down here.
Well, I think that will spoil it. I do. I like to see it just as it is.
What do you think, sir?
Well, I think it'd be a shame if too much tourism came here. And ended up like the Costa del Sol. It would ruin the atmosphere.
And how long do you think that a village like this, for example, can go on putting on a show without it becoming a bit commercialised?
They can't.
No, they can't.
It's impossible.
They can't. That's impossible.
There's such a natural spontaneity about everything they do at the moment. But I'm sure it'll be absolutely spoiled.
How much the Gambia will change and how quickly will depend largely on numbers. Decisions taken by the President of Gambia, Sir Dawda Jawara, and British Caledonian's Adam Thompson may be crucial. Can Mr. Thompson fill more and more planes? Is there no limit to growth?
I don't think there is one, quite frankly. It's going to go on and on and on and on. We're going to go in from a 5-day week to a 4-day week to a 3-day week with all these silicon chips and everything else doing all the work for us. Presumably discretionary income will continue, and what are people going to do with that income? They're going to buy the luxuries that they require for their homes, but I think they're going to spend money on tourism. They're going to continue to do it. So I personally don't see any limit to it for the next 50 years. I think growth industry, whether it's growth and profitability, is the important thing as far as I'm concerned.
That's what bothers everyone. What is the profit and loss for a developing country like the Gambia? Local crafts have been mildly stimulated and some jobs created. Selling souvenirs can become big and profitable business.
Try it, if you like it. That's very nice. Very pretty. This is your color. Very nice.
You think so? You think black's my color?
Yes, because you're white man.
But all too often, as these street scenes in Senegal show, there are too many shoddy goods chasing too few tourist dollars. Much of the work generated by tourism is seasonal or casual or exploitive, or all three. Aminata Diop works as a children's nurse in a poor suburb of Dakar, Senegal's capital. In a country where medical care is still scarce, her skills are valuable. Yet she's tempted to abandon all this for a much more lucrative spare time activity, totally out of character for a Senegalese woman. Aminata is one of a troupe of dancers that claims to bring a taste of genuine local culture to the tourist hotels. In fact, they present a mildly lubricious show, which, as Aminata told me, would never be seen in a local village. Women do not go topless in Islam. This part of West Africa is poor, conservative, and predominantly Muslim. Most of the visitors are from rich Scandinavian countries characterized by outstandingly liberal values. The conflict of cultures is inescapable. If there is tourist pollution in West Africa, then there's keen competition for it, a scramble for outside investment in an industry which is often seen as the quickest and easiest way to pep up the local economy. But so far, development is limited. And there is so much of Africa that most of it will remain untouched and unchanged for some time to come. On this small holding in Wales lives a most unconventional writer about travel, Patrick Rivers.
We hear a lot about the effect of tourism on places, but what about the effect on people? The tourist, I'm very concerned about that. The best part of a holiday, I discovered, is looking forward to it. The actual holiday experience can be a terrible letdown. Probably don't feel well. The place is never what it's cracked up to be in the brochure. People will tell you anything when they want to sell you something. And it's going to be a place where you'll find around you not the natives anymore, but either people who have been imported from some other part of the country or the people from the street up next door, next to you. Now, all this is a very unsatisfactory experience. When the place was first put on the tourist map, it probably had genuine, authentic attractions which drew people there in the first place. But as time goes by, everything is jazzed up, tarted up, and it becomes part of showbiz. Now, I personally don't want to go a long way to see a show, because I can see a show either on my telly or in the cinema or in a theatre.
Ladies and gentlemen, the war dances of Fiji. Ladies and gentlemen, the classical dance of Thailand. Mesdames et messieurs, les ballets sénégalaises.
Timbuktu and back again. But the only thing I know is that everywhere I go, the Coca-Cola always tastes the same.
Now I've had my photo taken in the market in Tangiers, and last year I went to see the sights of Greece. But the only sights I saw were a million other tourists, and I'd seen all them the year before in Nice. So next year I'll stay at home, no longer will I roam. I don't care what the blooming neighbours say. I'll buy a sunray lamp and a set of foreign stamps, and I'll send myself a postcard every day.
The showbiz connection is inescapable. With the tourists directing the action and taking the pictures, it's as if the world had become a great film set. The rolls of Kodachrome that are taken home are what matter, more perhaps than the experience itself. It's a development that does not appeal to explorers and travellers like Dame Freya Stark.
It is a matter of very much of how you view travel. If they view that travel is to get to know the place you go to, and if that view grows to be general, I think the world can manage to keep its characters. If, on the other hand, it continues to think that going round the world in a month or so and stopping a day here and a day there is travel, that is going to spoil it completely. When everybody travels, it will make it awfully pleasant to sit at home.
The day when everyone flies is still quite distant. 85% of air travellers come from the wealthy industrialised nations, whereas Boeing market research discovered it's the 20 to 40-year-olds who are filling the planes as never before. Tom Craig.
This particular age group is a very much larger portion of the population in the industrialized countries today than it ever has been. They are having fewer children. They are better educated. They are not as encumbered by high mortgages. They quite often have both members of the family working, so that their income is disproportionately high to that of their parents or grandparents, where only the father or the husband worked. And so they have the time and the money to travel, and in fact they're doing so. The older generation very probably never took their first commercial airplane ride until they were in their early 20s. The present generation probably flew when they were the age of 1 or 2 in their mother's arms, and they've been flying ever since. So air travel for them today is as common as train travel was 30 years ago, or travel by horse and buggy was 75 years ago. The whole lifestyle of these people suggests that they're interested in what I call sensation experiences as far outweigh in their interest in acquiring expensive cars or expensive houses, these sorts of things. It's quite a different kind of person who we're seeing climb aboard these airplanes. And they don't go once and say, I've had my grand tour of Europe. They keep coming back again and again.
Now the same trends are beginning to be observed in countries like Taiwan, Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore, Hong Kong and Korea, where emerging middle classes show the same inclination to spend their newfound wealth on travel. For the airlines, this is the growth area for the future. And if the Chinese should ever enter the travel market, the possibilities are daunting indeed. In conditions of increasing congestion and discomfort, consumer resistance may grow. Patrick Rivers.
The thought of travelling these days by air is such a horrifying prospect that I'd far rather stay here, not just because I live in a beautiful place, but because I know that when I get to the other end, it will be neither worth the cost nor the discomfort of getting there, unless I really want to put a lot of money down and go to some place where which hasn't yet been discovered. But if I'm doing that, I know in my heart that I'm only creating an ecological problem. I'm polluting some part of the world which has perhaps so far escaped this terrifying form of pollution.
A terrifying form of pollution is not how Patrick Rivers would be regarded by India's Director of Tourist Development, A.K. Dave.
India does not
lose by having tourists. On the contrary, it gains very substantially. In fact, a rough approximation is that no more than 6% of all that money which comes into the country goes out in the form of obtaining facilities for the tourists. So it's a net gainer in a very substantial way. In fact, we are a huge country, nearly 660 million, and the present number of tourists is, let us say, 800,000. And even when it grows to double that figure, it will still be insignificant in proportion to the total population. And any local impact would be marginal. In fact, the exchange may be more beneficial, and I can't see any harm at all resulting to the country or its culture from the tourists.
Right. If I left two in
no problem.
Singapore.
Oh, watch your hips, honey.
I couldn't be any better. There we go.
I see you up. Okay.
Oh, Robert.
God.
Robert.
Hoist the mainsail, will you?
All this innocent fun has secured the jobs of both the elephants and their drivers. Redundancy no longer looms. Jaipur attracts 100,000 foreign visitors each year. They come to admire the magnificence of the ancient city of Amber with its forts and palaces, and they also come to shop. In the nearby village of Sanganer, tourists have brought unexpected prosperity to 300 low-caste Hindu families. Their bright hand-printed fabrics were first sold as souvenirs, and so much admired worldwide that now the village exports by air to fashion houses in London and Paris. Here, the benefits of tourism are for the moment unchallenged, a simple catalogue of gain.
First and foremost, there is the foreign exchange which flows into the country, and a country like India needs the foreign exchange. Secondly, it generates employment for a number of educated persons, another field of difficulty for a developing country. And then it generates a lot of ancillary employment in the form of promoting handicrafts, artists, and related trades. It has been estimated that the number of persons employed per person employed directly in the industry is 9. That means the multiplier effect on employment alone is 1:9. And normally in our hotels we have 2 persons to a room. So per room there are almost 18 jobs created.
When the tourist brochures boast that in India the visitor can live like a prince, they can for once be believed. This was the palace of the Maharajas of Jodhpur. Now it's the Palace Hotel, where anyone can stay at a very moderate price. No need for Hiltons or Intercontinentals. The Palace Hotel occupies only a few of the maze of rooms in what was the largest private residence in the world. India can easily accommodate everyone who can afford to get here, as long as they're prepared to venture off the beaten tourist track, to the superb medieval city of Jaisalmer, perhaps, where tourist income, wisely spent, might really help. Of all the cities of Rajasthan, it's the finest and the best preserved, and yet there's a real danger that its ornate magnificence will not survive. Jaisalmer is depopulated, isolated and poor, and has nothing to spend on propping up its ancient buildings. If tourists could get here and find the minimum standards of comfort and hygiene, the city would benefit by their coming. But can change be made without destroying its precious tranquility? Or will it suffer the same fate as other places? It's a question of numbers. For most tourists, a visit to India is a once-in-a-lifetime event. It has to include the Taj Mahal.
Once again, on the entrance on 3 sides, you can see the black script, that is the Arabic script. As we are having Bible in Christianity, for the Muslim, the holy book is called Quran. So these are the Quranic verses, and always they write from right to left and not from left to right, just like English.
Even today, tourists who come say that, show us the Taj, and after that, take us to any other part of India, we are happy to go. But they do want to see the Taj. The mere fact of the presence of hundreds and thousands of people coming every day, on the other hand, could pose a variety of other problems. Litter, maintenance of lawns, mere opportunity to view the Taj in its pristine isolation. These are some of the things that one could suffer from, but I hope some solutions would be found by then. I have none to offer at the moment.
The only solution is greater tourist dispersal. Back in the Soviet Union, the executives of Thomson Travel have come to negotiate just that, an agreement with in-tourists that will enable them to take their package tour clients even further into the forbidding and empty wilderness of Siberia.
Good morning. Personally, I found Bratsk more interesting than Irkutsk.
Yeah, but Bratsk itself, without Irkutsk, wouldn't be.
You know that I think the combination of Irkutsk, Lake Baikal, and Bratsk, I think this is what we call the jobs of Siberia.
Yes. Okay, so I think for next year, the Siberian tour should become quite attractive, apart from the one problem I was mentioning before.
Night flight.
Which is the night flight from Novosibirsk to Irkutsk.
The details are settled, and with some pomp and ceremony, the agreement is signed. The economic importance of tourism is underlined by the presence of Russian television. Meanwhile, 4,000 miles from Moscow, 17 Thomson package tourists are still proving to themselves that Siberia can be fun. It's a bitter irony that they can take such pleasure in a country that gives its own people so little chance to travel abroad. Even now, tourists are a privileged minority. Most of the inhabitants of this globe cannot afford or are not allowed a foreign trip. A melancholy fact when the appetite for the travel experience is so great and its satisfaction so rewarding.
I hope that I'm going to be able to go to various parts of the States with those cheap flights, but my last fling was to come back in Concorde. I did that the last time I went. I went in Skytrain and came back in Concorde as a gesture.
Was it worth it?
Yes, it was. It goes over my house every day, and I was determined I was just going to go into that plane and be in it, and it was worth every penny. I thought it was incredibly exciting.
This isn't your honeymoon, is it, by any chance?
No, it was going to be, but I didn't like the idea of it. It's a little bit better than the Costa Brava. There aren't so many people out here. It's a different culture, a different way of life, and one of the last frontiers. There are not going to be many too left, I don't think.
Are you at all concerned that you may, in fact, run out of destinations, of different places to go to?
No, one never runs out of different places. As places change, as Siberia is undoubtedly changing, so other areas arise. No, one never runs out. The world's a big place. Yeah. No, this is just one stop on a continuous run.
The place, I think, which would be exciting from the cold point of view, as well as from total darkness, is really north of the Arctic Circle. That's Murmansk.
Way above the Arctic Circle.
That's just off the Barents Sea. It's north of the Arctic Circle. Actually, Murmansk, in the local dialect, actually means the edge of the earth. So we pretty well got it there.
So if a packaged holiday in the Soviet Arctic is your idea of fun, you might just beat the crowds.
Is it the first time you've been on an airplane?
No, we've been flying before.
Oh, it's paradise. This is really unreal.
Of course, naturally, they come here for sex.
The actual holiday experience can be a terrible letdown.
And the people are wonderful, the food's beautiful, and wherever you go, the people are so friendly and the smile's so nice. It just makes you feel happy.
It's going to go on and on and on and on. So I personally don't see any limit to it for the next 50 years. It's a growth industry.
The etc. is very important. It makes a lot of money for the country.
This is the age of travel. No one can stop that. So here you are, and here we are. And thank you.